to P-Rule Mastery. This is Grant James. We're going to be going over the P-Rule Guide now, which is basically kind of the whole meat of everything that has to do with Korean pronunciation. This was created originally by Bruce Grant. I think it's in 1994. And since then, there's been various adjustments as the Ministry of Education in the Republic of Korea has made some changes, but basically it started in 1988 was when South Korea kind of came together from an educational perspective and decided to standardize Korean pronunciation. I think some of that had to do with so many different dialects and people saying things differently, but I think it's helpful also for foreigners to really see how Koreans view their own language. So as a part of the P-Rule Guide, there are, I think, 54 different sound changes that are talked about here. We included more recently a link to Naver, which is basically an online dictionary that contains a lot of pronunciation changes, and those standards are shown throughout the dictionary. It's a lot better than having one of these big bulky ones like this. This is kind of all I had was this, but now everything's online, which is great. So one of the things that Bruce talks about, and this is when I originally first learned about this, it was in Korean 490R by BYU. So it was almost toward the end of my minor when I actually learned a lot of this stuff. So you missionaries who are learning Korean now have a lot more advantages than we had, because these rules, no one really knew about them. And even now today, very few people would even make it to that almost fifth level class at BYU, and I don't even think that they teach it anymore since Bruce isn't there. So we're really trying to get this information out there, as we see it being absolutely helpful for so many different people learning Korean. So the way that Bruce has basically designed this is through a mnemonic, which is V, H, F, Reno, V. I don't know if that's exactly how you say it, but it has to do with voicing, H sounds, forticizing, liul, and then some of these other different sections that we'll kind of get into. So here's the legend. This hand sign like that is not pointing at you saying, "What's up?" It's saying goes to, so it's just saying that this is the change, and you'll see that with different examples as we get into that. Talk about different consonants, voicing and unvoicing, and then here these are the different consonant sets. Originally it went to here, and then we kind of got together and decided to have the H sound, because there's been a lot of discussion around the H sound as both the voiced and an unvoiced consonant, so that we don't remove it and put an E in there, basically. And I think that Koreans will appreciate that. And also, there is a little bit of an H sound that comes out, so we've tried to highlight that. These are the things that you're going to need to be most aware of, especially as you start doing some of these yourself, is what these different things mean. Kind of like if you were to look at an English dictionary, how there's letters that we don't use with the AE and all those different pronunciation things that as people who that's our native tongue, we don't necessarily care, but when a foreigner is learning a language, annotating things is really helpful. So this right here means that it's voiced, and apostrophe means that it's voiced. So hata, meaning that the D is going to be more of a D instead of hata. The colon means that you're elongating the sound, so mal. And a lot of that kind of comes from Hanja, I think, with Middle Korean back in the day. Long vowels were a big part of that whole methodology, and some that's carried over to today. This here is basically for when you get into like sarangata or 안녕하다, is basically having that yung sound go up and take over the H sound. And this is, again, in a dictionary, if you were to go and look up, let's see, there we go, they're just going to have that H sound in there, but for foreigners, we're going to carry that up because it's a very difficult sound, and you're going to sound more natural if you just kind of replace it, basically. So 사랑하다, like that. This right here means that basically two words affect one another, so you carry that change over to the next thing and you kind of say them together, versus the opposite, which is a hard pause. And again, here's kind of an example right here. So this would be 여러분 목적, 여러분의 목적. So 다른 사람들이 pause, 예수 그리스도와 그분의 속죄에 대한 신앙, 회개, 침례, 성신의 은사 및 끝까지 견딤을 통해 회복된 복음을 받아들이도록 도움으로써. Then a pause there. 그리스도에게 나오도록 권유한다. Okay, so that's basically using these things like a long vowel, 사람, or 예수 그리스도와, and kind of carrying that through there. If you're short of breath or whatever, feel free to take a pause. But we've tried to have these here to make that easier for you. So, and anytime there's a comma, for the most part, we put a pause right there because that's where a Korean would pause. So you would say like 신앙, 회개, 침례, 성신의 은사, and then kind of a lot of these things are going to carry together. And sometimes these can get pretty long, but if you listen to a Korean speak, sometimes it does get long. So let's jump right into it. Let's get into the P rule starting with V, so voicing adjustments. So if you were to see the word, this is voice versus unvoiced, which we went over some of this in methodology, but basically you're going to have ida, so ida, so this is the D sound here, or 책임, so this 기억 here is going to go up, so it's 책임, like that, with a G sound instead of a K sound, and then here the 기억 is going to go up again, so 확인, with a G sound instead of a K sound. So what we don't want is 책임 or 확인. It's 확인, 책임. Then we have voice versus unvoiced. So we have 한글 here, and then sometimes you have these fortices, which is kind of touched on here, but we get into more of those in the F changes. So 절대, so never. So this becomes like a double D there. So 절대, even though it's red, it looks like this in the spelling, it's actually pronounced 절대. For the H adjustments here, for H adjustments, these are things that have to do with the H sound. So 많고. So this is kind of an interesting one. If you have an H sound before a 기억 sound, then it's going to become aspirated. So that's when you can feel it, right? 많고, 잃지 않고, right? So that's one to be aware of. And then if you have a D sound under there, then you're going to end up with, instead of, 다치다 or something like that, it's going to be 다치다. So 묻히다. 그렇습니다. So here we're going to end up with a double S sound. 그렇습니다. 못하다. So that, again, that's kind of what happens there. 못하다. Words that you're familiar with that you're going to hear often. 안녕하다, 은행, 인해서. So again, if I were to look this word up in a Korean dictionary, they're going to leave the H sound there, but as foreigners, we're going to say, let's just replace it. Same here. That H sound is going to be in there. So this is one of those places we deviate with the Korean dictionaries because we're foreigners, right? So 인해서. Here the final H sound is dropping in number 9. So 많이 or 많이 if you do the long vowel. 싫어도. So 싫어도, right? An H sound here, 놓는. This is really important to note because we hear a lot of American missionaries saying just 놓는, but a Korean would have a really hard time understanding that, kind of like 있는, when you do have the double N. So here the H sound is replaced with an N, 놓는, or if there's just an 이응 up here, then it's going to be 많은, right? So 많은 사람들이 versus 놓는 것입니다, right? So those are the H adjustments. We've done V for voicing adjustments, H adjustments here. Now let's head down to the fortis adjustments. And here's one last example. So 않는, right, with the long vowel, 않는 and the double N. Fortis. This one we see a lot of mistakes with. 극복하다. So this is actually 극복 with a double B. 가다. 극복하다. 식당. 읽겠습니다. We'll see, these are a little tricky when you have a 받침 that has two consonants at the bottom, trying to make the decision of whether or not it's like 읽겠습니다 or 읽겠습니다. And it kind of depends on what follows, because it is 읽다, but if it's next to a K sound, then it's 읽겠습니다. 읽다. 십장, 축복, those types of things. All right, next one, 될 것이다. So we have, these happen a lot. So basically, this is kind of like a future tense, right? So we'll say like 할 일이 있습니다, or 할 수 있다, or 될 것이다. So that's going to carry up through there. Whoops. All right. So a base C, not a fortis. This is one you probably hear a lot because it's easy to hear. So you say like 발전, 실제, 열심, 절대. And those are fun ones to say, so they're kind of easy to remember. But it's not always like that. Sometimes when syllables repeat, you may just have 절절하다, right? Other fun ones to say, 간단, like 간단하게 말해주세요, right? 길가, 문법, 문자, 신권, common one, right? Priesthood, 한자. I feel like these forticized ones are easy to hear, but also easy to forget and to not use. So this is a helpful guide just to have a good reference point. Again, if you're not sure, you can always just grab it and see what they say. So let's take 절대, right? Let's see if that's correct. 절대, right there. And I'm gonna scoot that up just in case. It's hard to see with my head or something, so 절대. Then we've got 실제. Let's try that one. 실제, right? So those are absolutely correct. Let's look up this last one. 한자. 한자. Yep, even with the long vowel right there. Fantastic. Okay, now these ones, even myself, sometimes when I hear a new word that has this double consonant 받침 at the bottom, sometimes I don't know. So I'll just look them up if I'm not sure. But a lot of times you kind of know because you've heard them. So 넓게, right? 읽다, 읽고. Then we have 담고, 얹다, 품기다. So this is different when you have these key types of situations. Usually, you can look it up, but usually it's not going to be forticized. So it's just regular 품기다. Good to know. All right, our adjustments. We're going to have 사람들이, 하늘에. So this is when the R is kind of, there's a syllable that carries, it's kind of in the middle of the word, right? 말하다. These are kind of older ways. You'll see older Koreans sometimes spell words like this, or you'll see it in a sign, or maybe in a book. So a lot of times people will just spell it like 낙원, like paradise, or 내일, or 양심. But sometimes you'll see them written this way. So if it starts, a lot of times this is how you're actually going to pronounce it. Is that lil becomes an ian, or like an in sound. Sorry. So 양심, 내일, 낙원, those types of situations. Then probably familiar with this because of the word 장로, right? So 장로님, that's one of those types of situations. Let's look it up just to be sure. There we go, 장로, right? And because that comes from a Chinese character there, a lot of times they do those long vowels because it's harder for Koreans to hear it. So even when you're giving a discussion, sometimes people will be like, what was that? What was that word that you said? And you're like, oh, 회계, or you're like, 침례, 장로, right? But then as they become more familiar with it, sometimes they don't even do like the long vowel much anymore. Now we have this becoming a lil becoming an in sound after a 기역 or a B sound. So you're gonna have 협력. So 협력, and let's Let's pull that up in a dictionary. Yep, 협력 right there. 협력. And then 제60, right? So original spelling 육, right? But it's 제60. So those are some of the R adjustments. A lot of times these are just spelled out for you without the 리을, just making it into, an ing or whatever. But sometimes you'll still see those spellings. Then we have 골랄, 칼날, or 임진난. So there are some different exceptions like this. I actually think the history behind this is that apparently, I could be wrong, but I've heard that in North Korea, they pronounce some of these things differently. Instead of the two R's becoming an L sound, they become an N sound. And you'll see that even, I know that I heard that a lot of the advertisements were like Shinramyeon. They pronounce it that way, and that kind of stuck. And so there are words where instead of it going to the L sound, it goes to 임진난, right? So let's look that one up as well and see. So yep, 임진난. Yep. Okay. Then let's get into 의미, these types of things. So oh, okay. So here we have where the 의 sound stays as a 의 sound. So 의미, 대부분의, right? 나의. These are some of the things that we talked about earlier where it really becomes, instead of it's a ye sound. This one is not, number 32 is not in a dictionary. This is just something you're going to hear. So 너의 숙제에. And then 너희, 주의, 협의, 희망. I thought this one was really interesting because these are things that you hear, but to see these in dictionaries is really interesting, where even a Korean would have a hard time saying 희망, right? So they just change it to 희망. Nasal sounds. 낳는, 밥 먹는다, 없는, 있는, 한국말, right? So these are things that make you sound way more authentic, and it's because that's how Koreans say them, and because there is an actual thing behind that. So 없는, 있는. Then we have 여자 becomes 여자. These you hear, don't see them written as much, but 꽃잎. So this is going to be, let's see, flower leaf. So leaf of a flower, 꽃잎, 담요, 색연필, 영업용. So this is when you got several of these changes happening kind of at the same time. So 영업용, 색연필, 3.1절. This is, I think, a holiday, 유교 때. You hear people talk about that. 서울역. So this is where that sound carries up. So after a 리을, 서울역 instead of 서울역, or 휘발유. Then we have 26 instead of 26, or yeah, so 26, where this 여 sound becomes a 여 sound. So 26. Couple last adjustments. 안녕하다, we've been through that. 있어, 감사합니다. So here, if I were to look this up, I don't know if they are going to have the full conjugation there. Yeah, so they're just going to put 감사하다. But definitely when you're speaking, it becomes like 감사합니다, where like 줄임말 just kind of contracted there. 박경애입니다, 여자입니다. You could still put, if you're taking the test, you could still put like 여자입니다, but a lot of times this is going to become contracted. Then we have 갑, 넓다 instead of 넓다, 앉다, 없다, 여덟, 낮, 밟다 instead of 밟다. Then we have 삶 for life, 읽다, 젊다, 읽게. But when you have an object marker or something like that, like a chicken object marker, then it's going to be 달글 instead of like 닭을. and then 없어. This is one that occurs so often, but people just miss with the like 쌍시옷 sound there. So 없어. Now we have some vowel adjustments. Vowel. Sorry, I'm from Texas. Vowel adjustments. 교회, 가져, 시계. These have alternates here. So if I were to look up this word here, then we have 시계, 시계, two different ways. So these have multiple pronunciations. You can kind of go either way, whatever you think sounds more natural to you. For us, we usually just keep it with whatever is written, but both are proper. 굳이, 같이. Here we have 돼요, 아니요, 이요, 없다. Long vowels, 말, 눈 for snow, 밤, 사기. And then the very last one, this is to say you. Again, this one's not in a dictionary, but just when you're reading so that Koreans understand the difference between me and you. So 내가, 내게, right? That's going to sound more, you really kind of elongate that all E sound. So me versus you. And those are they. This is kind of the basis of a lot of the work that we've done here. And a lot of what you're going to find after this is basically these things being used in sentences. We have some different quizzes, test types of things that you can take as part of a curriculum, but it's all kind of based off of these main things right here. And if you learn them and you apply them, you're going to sound much better and easier for people to understand what it is that you're saying. Thanks so much.